Hey, what's going on, Corey?
What's up?
What's going on, Internet? We're back here, Bad Publicity. Thanks for clicking and picking us. If you want to get it right out the way right now, we'd love it if you'd like and subscribe. If you have not liked and subscribed us in the past, if you're new here, welcome. If you're a regular, welcome back. That was pretty
Sweet.
Friendly. Guys, today we kind of just wanted to talk about some of the impressions we got from the spoilers that were dropped from the Doctor Strange release. Corey shot me a message this afternoon. He said, hey, let's put our regular schedule on hold and bump this. There's some good stuff just dropped that was out there. Fantasy Flight did a release Twitch stream. You can go and check that out. And then the rest of the stuff was curated and all packaged together nicely in the Hall of Heroes. The full pack is listed in the description below. And so we are only going to talk about the Doctor Strange cards, though, right, Corey? And our impressions of those.
And I just want to go ahead and start off by saying thank you to Fantasy Flight for being considerate of our schedule and saving their spoiler on stream to the day that we're going to record. So it was really cool of them, and I greatly appreciate them looking out for us.
No doubt. Is Doctor Strange a hero that you are looking forward to, Mr. Corey?
He is. He seems like he's got a very interesting and unique play style. He's going to be the first hero. And I guess just to preface a little bit, if you haven't read the article yet, definitely check that out. Some really cool things they talk about. But one of the neat things about Doctor Strange is he has what they call an invocation deck. So it's its own little deck of 5 cards that will always have the top card face up. And some other abilities and things he uses will manipulate or give you the ability to use the top invocation. So it's a little different play style than what you're used to seeing in the other champions that have been released in the game so far.
Yeah, I'm really interested to check it out just because it's a different game mechanic. I'd like to see where it goes, see how they play around with it, see how the rest of the Doctor Strange cards utilize this specialized thing that we've never seen before from any other playstyle hero. So will be very interesting from there. I was very excited for Doctor Strange. Now I gotta admit I don't know if I'm as excited. He might have dropped in my hero rankings a little bit.
Yeah.
Just from that. I like something to really stand out, and I don't know if this one is going to dethrone Miss Marvel for me. I still enjoy really much playing Miss Marvel, and the next one that I'm really excited for is Thor. I think that Thor, when you read him, he kind of sits to me a little bit above Captain America in terms of difficulty. It will be interesting to see how Doctor Strange plays. If Doctor Strange plays incredibly difficult, I'm all in. I'm definitely there. It's definitely going to be weird enough for me to jump in and get involved and try and crack the mystic code. But
it does seem like he's going to be like a very because this is how different he's going to play, right? He's going to have like that acquired taste type. He's not going to be for everybody. And there's going to be some like really good like timing involvement and things like that with his play style.
I'm interesting to see how they're going to release the next block of heroes. And what I mean by that is we look at the ones that were released. I think Captain America, I just said Thor's a little bit above. I don't think Black Widow is going to be incredibly complex to play.
No, it's very straightforward.
So Miss Marvel, you can play her, but I do recommend, like we said, a little bit. Her learning curve isn't as gradual as some of these other heroes, and maybe Strange is there, but we'll see. And then obviously we have the pseudo last mystery one that everyone thinks is the Hulk anyway, but we'll see. So I wonder if this whole series, until the scenario box comes out, if we're still in that, demographic of we're easy to play, easy to get into kind of game, with a little bit of sprinkling for those that have been around the block. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I definitely think you're on the right path. If you think about like the core set, most of those heroes are pretty straightforward. I think maybe the trickiest two would maybe be Black Panther, Iron Man, and even then their play style is pretty direct on what you're trying to do. And then you had like Captain America, which is a very like easy to learn, off the shelf like hero pack you can grab. Then you got that little bit of the trickier play with Miss Marvel. And then we come back and it's like Black Widow looks pretty straightforward. Thor looks pretty straightforward. Not to say there aren't any interesting or like unique deck builds, but like the idea of what you should be doing is pretty apparent and easy to accomplish. And then you get a Doctor Strange. So it seems like that they are like, for every like handful of very straightforward heroes, they'll sprinkle in some like a hero with a twist, like some thing that makes them stand out as a way to play the game differently than maybe the rest of your group will be playing. Mm-hmm. Which is cool, right? That's what you want. You want that cool uniqueness. And I think that's something this game does really well, and it hopefully continues to do, of giving you like that very unique identity at the table, and letting you really like make that hero your own with like a play style you really dig and enjoy, with a deck design that you really dig and enjoy.
But yet not on a playmat that you want.
No, not on a playmat. I really don't believe these playmats are real. I think we joked about this before. Have you seen one? I've not seen one in real life.
In the real.
I think they're fictional. I think it's one of like Doctor Strange alternate realities. People actually own these playmats. I don't know who those people are. Yeah. So I guess do we want to dive into some of the cards, some initial ideas, and then give some thoughts after we burn through them?
Let's do it. Let's the best place to start is at card number 1. So I'm told, Corey. That's your motto. That's your motto. I'm gonna start at 2 guy, but today we're following your lead. This is a Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange, himself. This is the altered ego. Recovery of 3.
Okay. He's a doctor. Sure, man. Okay.
But that's sure. Maybe if he had full use of his hands again,
I know.
Corey. If he had full use of his hands, then he would be able to recover maybe for 6. But he's limited. Right. He's limited here. So Stephen Strange begins the game with an invocation deck. See insert. Okay.
Yeah.
Natural talent. That's all right. A natural. Mm-hmm. Action, discard the top card of the invocation deck. Limit once per phase. I gotta say, and standard 610 right now.
Yeah, that's actually really important because with his recovery of 3, only 10 hit points. Yeah. But as we mentioned earlier, the way the invocation deck works, if you haven't looked at the article yet, is it's its own deck of 5 different invocations, and you'll always have the top one flipped face up. And so kind of what his natural talent ability will let him do is, if the top invocation is not what you're trying to perform or do that turn, you can discard it, and then you reveal the next one as the one you potentially use. And when all the invocations are discarded, you reshuffle the deck and then flip the new top card over again. So it'll kind of reset with what invocations are available to you throughout each turn and everything.
Yeah. I mean, like,
it seems like a very basic side using his game mechanic, right? Lets you know he gets his own special deck of invocation cards, and he gets the ability that while an alter ego, he can really only seems beneficial, of course, if you start an alter ego.
Right? I think you clipped there. So go back. What was that? You said that really quick. Yeah.
With his natural talent, can give you the ability to kind of adjust the top card of the deck, which I think is the thing that's interesting to note is, and we haven't gotten there yet, but you need to be in Doctor Strange in order to use the invocations. So it's not like you're going to go from Doctor Strange to Stephen Strange. You can then get rid of your top invocation, but then you can't do anything with it, right? You're setting yourself up for next turn.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some timing things in there you need to be aware of. That's gonna play around with.
So I will say, so one of the things I'm going to be on the fence about Stephen Strange about where he ranks for in my personal ones. I think everything's going to really depend on this invocation deck. Since that's his main mechanic, right? And when I heard about it, I was really excited. I was like, oh, this sounds super awesome. This is something we haven't seen before. It's super cool, but from that perspective, I'm thinking it was going to be bigger than 5 cards.
Yeah.
Like when someone says a deck, right? Like, oh, he's gonna have an invocation deck. I'm like,
it's more like an invocation hand.
Yeah, or a small pile, right? Like
his invocation hand that he doesn't have good use of.
Oh,
so
right.
Man.
So I'm really gonna have to see how the use of this comes, or hopefully in the future, maybe if they add bits to these heroes. Maybe you'll be able to pick which 5 invocations that you can, start with, or maybe that deck builds up. But I'm really, if it's just going to be 5 cards that I'm kind of like cycling through, I'm like, I wonder. It's really got me thinking, like, why did it stick on that number?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll be like this is a callback. What if it's going to be kind of like to like Adam's directives from old Netrunner?
Yeah.
So
who's thinking there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a reference that some of you may not get, but any old Netrunner players, maybe that's something that they can elaborate on or give you the ability to customize, and maybe the rule update that your invocation deck can't be more than 5 cards, or maybe they'll come up with alternates, or maybe these 5 are just great anyway, right? We don't know all of them. So maybe they're going to kind of cover all the bases, and maybe like you won't need more than 5. So we'll see. That's one of those things you kind of have to play and see how it works in practice, and see how it actually like pans out. Because maybe it's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want too many because you want to be able to try to cycle to the invocation you need. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so interesting to have a power like this that like. To discard the top card is like, well, I only got 5, but then again, that card's not moving until it's used, though, right?
Correct.
So we have that. So maybe this is all balance reasons. Maybe this is all done for a specific reason why there's only 5 there. But it just, I'm gonna have to play it. But again, initial.
You just want more.
Yeah,
you want more.
I'm greedy. But yeah, it's my initial impression as I think this through, right? Like, these are the questions I have, and my thirst for knowledge here. All right, so that's Steven, and let's kind of push on here.
Yep, to the old hero side.
Yeah,
the old Doctor Strange.
Hey, he's an Avenger. And a mystic, So hey, awesome. Now you can trigger some more some Avenger trait stuff.
True, that is true.
All right, so 2 thwart. I'm not even kidding. 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. 2/1/2. Spell mastery is an action. Exhaust Doctor Strange. Pay the cost of the top card of the invocation deck. Resolve the special ability of that card. Ain't that exciting?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's how you cast your invocations, right?
Yeah, there
so
it is.
that's his whole thing. So it's like he has a special power that changes every turn, effectively.
Which is interesting, right? Like it's that's the interesting part about Doctor Strange is casting these spells, having these hidden things in a different way that is not like events from your hand, right? Like they could have just had him cast spells. So it like I said, it's going to be cool, but I think everything's going to depend upon these 5. And I think the ones that were spoiled are, we'll talk about them, but I'm hoping they held some doozies back.
Right. Yeah. And the other little detail to point out is its hand size is 5 and 10 hit points still. So his hand size only drops by 1 when he goes into hero. But if you think about this, that's a little bit of illusion, because his hand size is 5, but technically he always has 1 card in hand, with the invocation being face up that's not affected by anything that hits his hand. So he's also kind of has another card always in play as well. So that's actually really solid. He keeps a pretty steady hand size going from alter ego to hero. But the biggest thing, and I think I kind of mentioned when we were first talking about this before we started recording, was, I mean, he has to exhaust to do his invocation, which means, of course, his stats don't really matter too much. I mean, they will matter at some point. I'm not saying they don't at all, but in order to do his thing, he has to exhaust every time. So he's pretty much going to be doing that every single round to fire off his invocations. But it also means that, like, villains that will exhaust heroes are brutal against Doctor Strange. Because that's how he does his main thing, is he has to be able to exhaust during his action in order to be able to use the invocation abilities.
I really like the fact that he's 1 attack. I mean, that's good thematically. So a lot of your stuff is going to come from the cards. I thought his thwart was, I can't speak too much about how to balance this game yet, but I thought his thwart was going to be a little higher. And maybe there's going to be cards that bump that, but that's just, I honestly, my thinking behind that is all based upon, again, the movies, which they said that this is not related to, right? Like he should be able to see all the possible outcomes, right? Like, blah, 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 blah. and then he knows there's only one way to succeed.
Yeah.
So I just thought his ability to thwart was going to be higher, like, or the first time we've seen somebody that is really that thwarting hero, right?
Well, spoiler to the spoilers, he does get a really good thwart card we'll talk about a little later. So
he does.
Coming up soon.
He does. There you go. Do you want to just kind of go into that then, stuff? The next one here? Or do you
okay. One more thing I want to throw out that immediately kind of jumps to me is something that you do that seems like it could be a problem, or is going to be a little bit of the challenge of this. He has a defense of 2 stat, which is good. I mean, it's actually a pretty respectable number for preventing damage, considering he only has 10 hit points. The biggest thing is defending exhausts you, which means that if you have to defend yourself to not get KO'd, you're exhausted, you're not using invocation on your next turn. And that can be a really big setback. So trying to balance out with other heroes who can kind of jump in and defend for Doctor Strange. Or it is good that they themed his pack around protection. We're not going to go into any of the protection cards or anything in this like early vid, but I think that's a good setup to kind of offset the fact, to give you some abilities to maybe like to ready and stuff like that after defending, or trying to keep some damage off of Doctor Strange, because he's low hit points and a low recovery. So that's some things like you wonder like how much it can be a setback if he takes like a massive punch from, say, like, a 6 hit point hit from Rhino, right? Like puts him on the edge, and then he's going to get reeling, and you got to do some really good like balance and timing to be able to go through your invocations again.
Yeah, well said.
So about those invocations.
Yeah, he is paired up with protection, and I think that's for a reason. I think a lot of these heroes that you see have something special like this are going to have to be, right? Like not every hero's that fight, You have to be able to, you have to have some way in the game to defend yourself, and apply that, level of defenses so that you can do your other stuff without exhausting. I think that's going to be a theme that we see going forward.
Yeah, I'm real happy with what they chose to pair it with, so you don't end up with like a really cool deck mechanic that you can't fire because you're just getting your face punched in over and over again.
The very first invocation that we see is a 2-cost event called Crimson Bands of
Sidorak. I think that's how you would say it. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It sounds way cooler than... let's go with Sidorak.
So this is a special. We haven't seen specials come around since the Black Panther days, which is essentially the core. Stun an enemy and deal 7 damage to it. Place this card in the invocation discard pile. So it's really cool. Again, so that's showing you how this deck is going to work, that it's going to have its own separate discard pile. Things won't get shuffled into your hand, so I assume that it will cycle, but there's no...
Yeah, it will. Like when it runs out, it just reshuffles, and then you reveal the new top card.
But what do you think about that there, man?
For a 2 cost to deal 7 damage and a stun, think about when we had our other videos, and we talked about what it was like tackle or something that was like 3 resources to deal 5 damage and maybe stun them if you had the right icon in your mix. Like, this is already cheaper than that card. Automatic 7, automatic stun. Real solid card.
This is nuts. But I want to, Corey, let's also think about what you're going to need to do to actually pull this off. Now, so that being said, you're also going to have to use your hero ability, right? So, so what is what is that all? What's the hidden cost here, right? Not just the 2 event, and maybe to get this, you're also having to, either get rid of that top card somehow to find this damage card, but there could be a lot of other effects in here. So are we looking at these in the bubble and just saying, hey, this is a 2-cost event that's doing 7 damage,
right?
Or do should there be some kind of calculation here to be like, well, this is not just a card you're playing for hand, like, yeah, it's powerful, but 2 costs plus all of the other things you might have to do to get this up and going.
Yeah, and I think that's, game balance, right? That's how they get this massive effect for as little cost, because there is going to be, you have to be Doctor Strange, you're going to have to exhaust Doctor Strange. There is a thing to also consider, that these invocations, without some ready trickery with other members of your team, other cards, you're only able to do one of these a turn, because you're going to have to exhaust Doctor Strange to cast the invocation, and you may get like a 0 cost that pops up as your next one. Doesn't matter unless you have a way to ready Doctor Strange to be able to cast another one. So yeah.
I can see it. Like, I think I honestly can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't know what the best aspect to pair him with that untaps your hero the most.
Probably protection, to be honest, which I think is a good one, because you've got stuff like Indomitable, and there might be some other cards. There are some other cards, we're not talking about them. There are some other cards that will ready your hero, that could help. And you also there's also the neutral.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't think of the name right now, but there is a neutral that also can ready your hero.
That's the one that comes to mind for me too. Is the Spider-Man one?
Yeah.
Cool. But yay, if in the bubble right now, 2 costs for 7 damage and a stun effect, and
solid.
Obviously it moves this card off the top. That's pretty crazy. Like that brings him up into one of the best damage cards we've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Small thing, I also want to bring this up, because those who are looking at the images, they did do a neat little graphic thing. The Doctor Strange cards themselves, this is Doctor Strange's face and the head in the corner of the card. His invocations actually have like a field effect in front of them, so they actually stand out from his regular
Oh, from his regulars? That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's actually, other than just looking at the number, you can also see which cards are the invocations standing out in this pool. Okay, that's it. Keep going.
Hold on, let me go back and look. You are right.
If you look at his little portrait, yeah.
You are right. You are right.
Little details, man. Little details.
All right. Next up here, we have invocation number 4 of 5, the Vapors of Valtor. This is a 0 cost event, so right away, hey, there's no add-on.
That's right.
It's a special. Choose a status card in play. Replace that status card with a different status card. Place this card in your invocation discard pile. Now, status cards are the stun, confused, tough. That's a status card.
Yeah.
Now, Corey, what do you think about this card? Because in my mind, this only has one of 2 uses.
Yeah, you're either taking tough away from a villain and giving them stun or confused, or a villain who is stun or confused one of your guys, you're giving yourself tough instead. Right.
So remember, this is going to be one of the ones that is going to be tricky, and a lot of people might miss this aspect, but choose a status card in play. That status card can be on anything. So if your hero or your buddy's hero is confused or stunned, hey, rip it off him and give him tough.
That's really good for a 0 effect. I mean, granted, exhausting Doctor Strange, but that's a really cool ability. Like, we haven't seen a lot that manipulates the status cards yet, and so that's a cool thing to play with. And that's also just with the status cards you have at a core. I mean, it is designed open enough that there could easily be new status cards that get added with new heroes, new boxes. So the applications of this ability can grow as the game progresses.
I like your thinking there, man. And I do think that there will be certain times when, depending on board state, maybe you want to turn a stunned into a confused or a confused into a stun, just to kind of stop, right? Maybe give yourself that turn. I think it will be really interesting from a solo player aspect. Right? Obviously, someone that is stunned in a multiplayer game, it's good when the villain is stunned, but it's not super crazy, right? Because it's just the next time they attack. So maybe they're going to attack me, they lose stun, but then guess what, Corey? They move over to you, and you're getting attacked, man. So
it's only good for the next player, and then it's terrible for the one after that.
Yeah, right. But so from that turn order, it could make a difference, but it could also, maybe Corey, you're the one that really needs to miss the attack. But if we stun him now, he's on me, and hey, I miss it, but you're screwed still, right? So like I said, it's interesting. Very, very interesting mechanic. Very cool from a wizarding perspective.
Right.
Is that the hands? Is that the thing he does, or is there something different?
I don't know if you're doing Doctor Strange or you're trying to do a Power Rangers
or a
thing,
or a Jay-Z,
or if you're just that's right. You're just gonna diamond cutter somebody.
Yeah.
So.
I guess it all depends. Look at the different childhoods we have. You're out there talking about Power Rangers and diamond cutters, and I'm just Jay-Z, The Rock is in the building here.
Yeah.
Two worlds, man. Two worlds collide. But anyway, so it's really cool from a thematic perspective. But this is the one here that, hey, maybe 5 or 6% of the time, this is going to be insane.
Yeah,
but
it's
there are games out there that status cards don't come into effect that often.
Yeah, this will be one that if you're playing with a group of players, that will be pretty excited every time they see it pop up. Because it always sucks when you're the guy like, oh, I got stunned, bummer. But then all of a sudden, Doctor Strange is like, just kidding, you got tough. And you're like, oh, thanks.
Totally, right? And how quickly these 5 cards can cycle through, and how many vapors can you pull off, right? Can we all be sitting there all toughed out? I don't know.
I mean, that's a big momentum swing. Think about it through a gameplay, right? Because, I mean, think about how much time you buy as a character switching that status effect. Instead of I'm losing my turn or my attack action to now I'm absorbing an attack effectively for free from the villain. I mean, that's really powerful. It's definitely one of my favorites of the invocations that's been shown.
It is in mine too. Even though I guess it just said this isn't going to fit, I think that's incredibly cool. And when it hits, it's going to hit. The one thing that's weird for me that stands out is I really do think that when you're playing this card, it's essentially game state, board state game changing, and to be a 0 cost event, I'm like, ooh, I think this one here could potentially save your bacon more than we just saw on the last one, doing this, the 7 damage and the stun. I mean, unless you're going like 7 damage stun and then using this one to confuse them or something like that. I don't know, right? Comboing
right,
together.
But then again, you need to be able to be able to do an invocation again.
But I think this one is a lot more impactful, averaged out than the last card, but this one costs 0, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm a big fan of it.
Unless it's because they do know that you probably won't get to pull it off as much, right? So yeah,
it's also gonna be one because that if you don't have the board state when you reveal it, you're not really gonna sit on it and wait for that board state to happen. You're gonna cycle through it.
Yeah, cut it quick. Yeah. If the 7 damage, was a 0 cost effect, you would just be like 7 damage, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Right. So they probably think that one's going to be played more, so it's got to be costed more. Mm-hmm. We'll do our homework and figure that out, but the Winds of Watum.
Oh, there you go. That works.
Hey, this is this is number 5. So like I said, we're missing 2 of the invocations. This is a 0 cost event as well. It's a special. Draw 3 cards. Place this card in the invocation discard pile. So 3 card draw.
Yeah.
Yes. No. I mean, maybe that's the symbol that I was trying to do there.
The hands thing.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this seems great, right? You pretty much can always want to try to fire it when you're cycling through. Exhaust Doctor Strange. Draw 3 cards. Go to the next card in your invocation deck. Seems really good. I mean, I can't think of drawing cards in a card game. Typically very, very good ability to have. It's not like the flashiest of things, but just raw card draw for having one of the spells isn't bad. And 3 cards is a really good rate for effectively nothing, but exhausting your hero.
So this card for me is a very yin and yang kind of card. I think this is potentially probably the most useful card of the ones that we've seen here. This is the one that no matter what the board state's going to be, no matter what you need to do, you're probably always want to fire this card. Boom, 3 cards. Considering that cards in this game is economy for you to pay for things, and considering that it is actually what we need to do in this game is play cards to do things.
What?
Yeah. Right. So, but
how?
But the other side of it is, to me, it's the least wow of all of the cards that we've seen.
It's your meat and potatoes card.
Yeah.
Right.
It's something in there that's just, we had to get to 5 cards in somehow, or we couldn't call it a deck.
Yeah. Right. You need the one that you're never upset to see. It may not be exactly what you need, but you're like, okay, well maybe this will give me an answer out of my regular deck of cards I'm playing with.
Yeah.
So solid card.
So I'm not too gung ho on it, but I'm not going to be angry to see it, right? Ever. All right. So those are the invocation decks that we have laid out for us right now.
Yeah, but as you said, there's still 2 we don't know about yet. We'll find out, I guess, when the full release hits.
Yeah.
So
the next one we have is just a regular old event, just something in his deck, and then you can see now from the card that haze is gone over his face. That's this. So Corey, you were right.
Yeah.
Did you notice that yourself, or did someone else point it out?
I noticed it when I was looking at it.
Ah, good on you, man.
I know, man. I like, yeah.
Got the eye. Astral projection. What would a Doctor Strange deck be without an astral projection? I ask you, Mr. Corey.
Dude, I love this card. This is the one, like, immediately jumped out to me as one that I'm a big fan of. But yeah, absolutely. This kind of, I guess, just thwart was better. Well, how about he gets a really powerful thwart card that will give you a stronger thwart ability, potentially take more off, and then give you information on what bad thing is about to happen to your play group when you get to the village base.
Yes. This is when I was thinking when I'm thinking to myself, what do I want from a Doctor Strange deck? It's this card 100 times over. This is what I felt like was going to be projected on the hero himself, but they kind of maybe decided that it was going to be too powerful, so they just kind of made it an event. Maybe if we're lucky, it'll be one of those things that we have multiple of these events.
Yeah, that would be sweet. I mean, they only show this is number 3, and then the next one we have is number 6. So, this could be 3, 4, and 5, or 3 and 4. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it's great. So I guess to go over what the card is, it's a 2-cost event, hero action thwart. You choose a scheme, you remove 3 threat from the scheme, and then you look at the top card of the encounter deck. For each boost icon on that card, you remove 1 additional threat from the chosen scheme. So this can, for 2, sometimes remove a boatload of threat, but it also gives you information on what that top card of the encounter deck is going to be to allow you to kind of plan out. So he sees the timeline. He knows what's going to
I think the only thing that would have made this cooler for me is that if they had to said something like choose a scheme, like, and it was like any scheme, right? Like, no matter what, if it was one of those situations where you're like, oh, you have to remove scheme from or threat from this scheme first before you can do here. Like, he should be able to astro project onto any scheme. No,
break
so override that main rule there, and just go to town. I love this card. Love it.
Yeah, this card's sweet. This is going to be probably like initial reaction is this is the best one that we've seen outside of like invocations and that whole mechanic. As far as just his base card, this one seems awesome. Really, really strong.
I like this card better than any of those invocations that we've seen.
It's one you can just get in your regular deck.
I really do, man. I think this is, like I said, this to me is the mechanic that should be Doctor Strange, like thwart. Right, like that's what I would like to see. Like we'll see what happens, but I can't say enough good things about this one. Really awesome.
And there's a chance like his main deck of cards, because the cool thing about him, right, is he still has his 15 base cards and then his 5 invocations. So they could still build this theme pretty well on his 15 base cards. We don't know because we've only really seen, 2 of them.
Samples, very small.
Very small part of it. So this could be a big thing, a big part of them, and the invocation is like his hero power. So who knows? I hope that's where they go, because I really love like the idea and what they did with astral projection, and I'm excited to see what else they pull out.
Well, on that note, way to set up the transition there. Let's see what else they pulled out. Master of the Mystic Arts, which he is. This is a 1-cost event. A hero action, though. Pay the printed cost of the top card of the invocation deck. Resolve its special ability, then place it back on top.
Yeah, face up. So this is cool because it can give you the ability to fire Invocation without exhausting Doctor Strange. So we were talking earlier about how like the biggest negative or the extra cost was you have to exhaust Doctor Strange to do the Invocation. So one, it lets you without having to exhaust him. And it can also give you the ability to fire an Invocation off twice. Because you use this once and then exhaust and do it again. And you can get the same Invocation effect. So like the one where you talked about deal 7 and stun. Deal 7, stun, deal 7 to something else and stun it. Or just effectively deal 14 to something and stun it. For a grand cost of 3 resources and exhausting your hero.
That's totally incredible, man.
Yeah, it's a really good rate.
Well, pay the printed cost of the top card.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. True.
So it would have been 3.
So it'd be
three,
5 resources.
Five in total, but three to play that card that one time. And these are the kind of synergy we're gonna need to see to be working things right. Again, Doctor Strange thematically, master of everything, very aware of what's around him, controlling all of the stuff. The only thing that would essentially be kind of cooler than this is if I'm controlling cards in another player's discard pile or doing something weird to one of my other players, but I don't know if they would get into that because that kind of kills solo players, but
Yeah, it wouldn't be a really cool effect unless they give you a cool ability to look at the top card of any deck. So you can look at the top card of like your deck or the top card of another player's deck, and then choose either leave it or put it on the bottom or something like that. Yeah. So there should be some cool manipulation things like that, but we'll see.
So this is a cool card. It's not a card that I am shocked or surprised about. It's not a card that I am over the moon about. I mean, I think that when you hear about a hero that plays with a separate deck, you're going to have a card that can do something with that deck, right? Like, I really expect to see more of these cards, maybe even more of this kind of card. Maybe you'll see 2 of this at least in his deck. But I mean, to me, this is just standard, right? I'm not shocked to see it. I'm going to love when this card turns up in my hands. A 1-cost event to be able to play his special hero cards that twice is good. Yeah,
seems really good. I mean, the other thing that's also really cool is if you are on Alter Ego, you recover, you have to exhaust yourself, and then you flip back to Strange, it still gives you the ability to play an Invocation, even though you're already exhausted. Or if, like I mentioned, a really bad thing could be if a villain effect exhausts you during their turn, you can't do an Invocation. This gives you a way to kind of get around it. You pay a little bit more, but it allows you to cheat not having your hero ready. So this is another one that I kind of hope they have multiples in the deck. Like, I'm hoping there's at least 2 copies of this, because I feel like it can kind of get you out of a bind and take away some of the negative part of how he has to fire those Invocations and give you a way to kind of work around some of those.
Yeah. Yes, it would be really really cool. The only thing I can see it negatively in a design space is if there is multiple. And can you imagine if you had the ability to have 2 of this card in play?
Ooh, yeah, and you could fire it off multiple times in a turn.
Yeah.
Like you master the Mystic Arts, master Mystic. Yeah, okay, I see that. So maybe they could have found that to be a little too nuts, and maybe they do have to limit it to just 1. Yeah, I could see that going. Now, granted, that could get really expensive, because if you think about the one that's 2, like you're paying 3, and then this is a card from your hands, so you may not even have the resources to do it a bunch more anyway. So maybe the cost will help balance it. So we'll kind of see as they do. Again, we don't know what the other 2 Invocations are, so there also could be effects that, like, having multiple Master of the Mystic Arts is just insane with the other Invocations we don't know about.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm fully expecting to see more types of cards that manipulate that Invocation deck, right?
Yeah. But yeah, as a whole, it's really cool. It's a unique spin and a really different hero than what we've seen already come through the game.
Totally. Obligation. This is outside of his normal thing, but we just kind of wanted to touch on this one. This is a physical toll. I think this is really thematic and cool for Doctor Strange. Pretty much standard. Give to the Stephen Strange player. You may flip to alter ego form. Exhaust, remove from the game. But here's the meat and potatoes of the obligation. The next event you play costs 3 additional resources, and then you can discard this obligation after you play an event. That's really cool, but it can also, this can mess you up, man. Like,
yeah. Hey, what are those invocations? Those aren't events, are they?
Oh. Adding 3 costs to an event is crazy. It is really going to wear you down. It's going to be that toll.
Quite a physical toll.
Yes,
but it's also important to note too that it doesn't go away until you play an event. So if it gets stuck to, it's going to sit there and just stay with whatever the next event is. So even if it's prices you out of being able to play anything, or pretty much going to eat up your whole turn, which, like, action economy seems real tight on Doctor Strange. So the negative impact that this obligation has is very fitting, because it can really eat up what you wanted to do with the limited amount of actions you can take already with them already.
Yeah, for sure. So this is gonna be really cool. Well, not cool, but
yeah, it's not cool at all. But it's very fitting.
Yeah, very fitting, and it'll be interesting to see when we do our ranks of obligation cards after we get a couple more heroes under our belt, where this one lies for being one of the worst, because this a poorly timed physical toll could really lay a clamp on you or mess your hand up. So you're pretty much, in my opinion, you're pretty much not wanting to do that. Way to eliminate this obligation. You're just gonna want to exhaust Stephen Strange. I mean, take that hit.
Yeah.
Take that hit. All right. Ugh.
Yeah. You don't want to have to rip your entire hand out in order to be able to play just any event to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's already gonna eat your whole turn up. Might as well go ahead and have it do it by exhausting your alter ego.
One thing that we don't have queued up and ready to go, but I wanted to just say I was really excited to see Strange's minion, or Strange's nemesis, Baron Mordo. In Baron Mordo, he uses a mechanic that is similar to the Hulk ally.
Which is really cool.
Where you discard the top card of your deck, and depending on the resource symbol, you will something different will happen negatively to you. I think it's really cool that they brought that over to the villain side. I think it's cool that we'll get more cards that take on that mechanic, because in this game I like that little bit of randomness, right? It's
perfect for a nemesis for Doctor Strange, because this whole thing is knowing what's going to happen and being aware, and then you get a nemesis who you can't predict what he's going to do. Design. Beautiful. Beautiful. So, man, hats off.
So there you have it, guys. This is our impression and walkthrough so far of the Doctor Strange cards that we've seen. Again, I'm gonna have to really see more. I'm I'm not as hyped for Strange as I am for Thor. Nobody has derailed Thor yet from my next kind of buzz.
You're excited. Yeah.
I'm eagerly anticipating Thor. We'll have to see if he can dethrone Miss Marvel for me, but there we go. Corey, any kind of last minute kind of wrap ups for Strange?
No, I mean, I'm very intrigued by him. He seems of the weird type of heroes. He seems more my style than the Miss Marvel deck might be.
Well said.
Yeah, but so I'm looking forward to what else they announce. But yeah, it's gonna be cool, and I'm excited to see what new type of builds and things they can do with the different champions in this game.
Nice. Guys, thank you very much. If you made it this far, feel free to give us a like. That does help. Corey does collect those. He puts them under his pillow, and the like fairy does come and give him money and treats for each one of those likes. So thank you very much. For everybody that does hit that. Guys, we'll catch you later on in the next one. Happy gaming.
Yeah, you guys take care.
See ya.